Hi, my name is Andrea Schley, and this is my response to Understanding by Design, Chapter 2 and 3, Understanding, and Gaining Clarity on Our Goal. So first is establishing our goal, and I like this idea of creating a goal first. That's been one thing that I've really enjoyed learning from this book. I think this is a key concept to really getting our students to understand what we want them to learn. A lot of times teachers can start backwards. They start with, well, what's a fun way to do this with my students? And instead, we should be thinking and focusing on what is a good way for us to establish the goal, or what goal do I want our students to understand? And when I think about this in reading, I think that a lot of times teachers are very backwards about the way they do this. At first, what we want is, when we start off with our students, we want them to know how to read. And that's important. Here's this letter, here's the sound it makes, and this is the word. And what we should really be doing is getting our students to really understand what they're reading, because a lot of students have difficulty when that change comes. And so I liked this quote from the book, that if we learn to read by repeated drill and memorization only, and by thinking of reading as only decoding, making sense of a new book can be a monumental change. So when we give students a big book, or an essay, or a reading of any kind, instead of, well, try to read this and stumble over the words, no, none of that. Just, what do we want our students to learn from this? So take this for example. A lot of times you'll see in the classroom now the teachers giving students a reading, expecting them to read it, and then answer questions about it. Well, let's look at how we can change the goal to making this more understandable for students by establishing our goal first. So now we know that instead of reading about thunderstorms, we are in 3rd grade, and our TEAC is to recognize characteristics and structures of informational text, including organizational patterns such as cause and effect. Okay, and I can present a picture to the students, and we can have a discussion about what is the goal. And our goal is to understand cause and effect. Well, let's talk about cause and effect first before we even begin reading. If I have these dominoes, what happens when I push them over? Are they going to fall? What makes them fall? Why do they fall? Why did they not fall if they didn't fall? And we can have these deep discussions about cause and effect before we even begin reading our story. Another way to do this is to get the key knowledge we want from our students. If we expect them to understand cause and effect, well, what do they need to know about it before? And I liked the quote from the book on page 76. Big ideas are abstractions, and the design challenge is to bring those abstractions to life and to make them seem vital. Instead of saying, oh, here's cause and effect, and this is what we're going to do, well, let's talk about thunder and lightning. Where have you seen that before? How do we know what those things are? Do we know what those things are? What do we know about them? If there's a student who has no idea what a thunderstorm is, then we definitely need to address that and talk about it before we can get them to understand the cause and effect of that idea. So definitely getting that key knowledge out and getting our students to really understand what we need them to know before is important. So now, what do we know? Well, we know that we're studying cause and effect. We know the key words in our reading. We know thunderstorms, and we don't have to struggle over reading those words. We know that there's thunder and there's lightning, and lightning comes after thunder or before thunder. And we know that there's rain involved in thunderstorms. The bigger the storm, the more thunder and lightning. And the students have all of this information to help them get the key concept, cause and effect, out of the lesson. Now, by the end of the lesson, students not only understand cause and effect of thunder and lightning, they will be able to apply this concept into their real-world experiences. If I don't study for a test, why didn't I pass? If I go to the store with $5 and buy something for $6, what's going to happen, and what do I need to do, and all the different ways we can understand cause and effect. So I really enjoyed the understanding by design and getting the why, the goal out of the lesson before we begin expecting our students to understand what we want them to know. That understanding needs to come first.